Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Alien Force Retrospectives. First off, I apologize again for the poor lighting, but I'm recording this later than I wanted, so we all have to kind of deal. And I also want to give an advance that I'm kind of tired and I've had a long day. I'm cranky, and I just want to get through. So today I just want to get through this vlog so I can just do what I want. So I can just do other things. Apologize in advance once again, but once again, I like doing these every week. I don't want to leave anyone who watches these things to be disappointed or wait till Saturday like for some vlogs. So again, I want to try and get this out today. And again, I apologize if I'm not fully into it or if it's shorter than my other vlogs. So anyway, today we're going to be talking about episode 15 of Ben 10 Alien Force, Alone Together. And in this episode, Ben, Gwen, and Kevin it opens with Ben, Gwen, and Kevin fighting a Highbreed in a warehouse. The team are starting to get an upper hand on it with Ben going echo and dogpiling him, but as the Highbreed is fighting them, he goes up to what looks like the Professor Paradox's quartz or time can't or what, I don't care. It's like his drill. It's like his time drill or whatever, his portal, and it's made of quartz and everything. So he tries to use it to escape the play. He's trying to use it to escape this, but Kevin throws a rock at it, in which damages the portal and sucks the Highbreed, and by extension Ben, because he was dogpiling him into it. And so Ben and the Highbreed end up stuck on this big desert planet. There's two suns in the sky, nothing but sand, and throughout the entire planet are these creatures and monsters, like a giant worm called a Ravik. These swarms of these swarms of pods or whatever. Or I forgot what they were called. I don't know. Decapodi. I don't know. The swarm of bugs, kind of like the beetles from the Mummy movies, except they don't eat anything alive, though. I don't know. And so when Ben and the Highbreed first encounter a giant worm called a Ravik, I think I already mentioned that, yeah. They both individually are not doing well against it, but it turns out, when they actually fight together, Ben realizes that they're actually stronger working together. So he proposes to the Highbreed that as long as they're stuck on this planet, they're going to work together until they can find a way to get off. So the Highbreed begrudgingly accepts this, though he sets some standards, like as they travel, Ben has to continue being 10 paces behind him and so forth. And of course, and Ben does concede, but and so pretty much their end game is that the Highbreed, because the planet to the Highbreed is pretty much useless, because as we've seen, Highbreed prefer cold air, and as Ben as this Highbreed, which you learn his name is Cold by Mrazek III, though Ben calls him Riney. As they're traveling, Riney starts shriveling up because of the hot air. So they have to end up working together, and so they have one teleporter station just as a relay, which is the only reason they have this planet. It's just kind of like an escape route. So their plan is to get to that portal and to get to that teleporter and escape. But until then, and so they have to deal with each other. And so the entire episode is them just trying to bear with each other. Ben dealing with the Highbreed's racism / xenophobia, and the Highbreed just dealing with Ben because of said racism and xenophobia. But it's just, and pretty much just them encountering all the dangers that both of them encountering all the dangers together. And for the majority of the show, it's just them trying to survive each other. And pretty much honestly, it's a good premise for an episode, having the hero and one of his enemies trapped together on some deserted area and they need to find a way to get off by working together. It's a cliche premise, but it works well. And in the case of the Highbreed, we've seen the Highbreed before this episode. We've seen different varieties. So to see Ben have it, little fly or whatever, gnat, I think. So seeing one having to try and work with Ben, and likewise Ben with him is actually is a bit of a challenge for both of them, since the Highbreed clearly does not like Ben, or Riney clearly does not like Ben, while Ben is trying to at least deal with him. Then, sorry, this gnat is really getting on my nerves anyway. So, as pretty much the entire so as such, because of this, we do get some nice. There actually is some funny dialogue between them as Ben tries to be civil with the Highbreed, like telling jokes or just using puns, but Riney doesn't take to any of it. And likewise, when Ben actually does help Riney in some cases, Riney is disgusted by it, or when Ben or when Ryan like Ben tries it's actually rather amusing, especially when the when Riney, I have to get used to calling him that, when Riney is trying to still act superior, even though Ben's suggestion is exactly what he goes with. Like, for example, in one scene, when Riney starts shriveling up, sees a small lake of water, so he goes to go fetch it. Only it turns out to be a trap by this giant monster. And Ben manages to escape. He tells Riney we need to run, and Riney says, I will not do the bidding of a lesser creature. A Highbreed is the only one that commands." And then as the creature approaches them, he says, "I bid we fight." And Ben's like, "Oh, okay, if you insist." It's rather funny. It's nice dialogue between them, and even kind of seeing a nice benefit too of this type of plot line is just kind of seeing them bond. Like, Ben is trying to be happy-go-lucky and trying to actually warm up to the Highbreed and Riney. And Riney obviously is resistant towards it, but it is getting through to him bit by bit. Like, he's risking his life for Ben. He starts helping him. And even in one point, Riney actually gets his hand chopped off when he defends Ben from a creature in the night, and Ben actually uses swamp fire in his vines to heal him. It actually is really not. I think it's. And yeah, he's disgusted by it. He doesn't like it. He doesn't care for it. But bit by bit, he is warming up to Ben. And admittedly, it is nice, especially when you see him partaking in these actions while still trying to hold on to the mentality that the Highbreed as a whole cling to, of themselves being the superior race and so forth. And that's actually another thing that I like about this episode. It also kind of gets more into how the Highbreed operate. As I mentioned before, we already saw that they were weak to cold, and apparently hot air does not agree with them. But in this case, it turns out they've actually developed ways to get around this. As while Riney is starting to shrivel up, his chest actually opens up. You can see his insides, or at least a bit of it, and these two appendages come out of his chest and burrow into the ground, looking for water, like a plant, which is what Ben calls it. It's actually rather interesting and kind of cool to see, and kind of nice to see. Again, and I do kind of like seeing that. And again, it's cool seeing them work off each other. There's clearly hostility, but it's just nice seeing them have to try and stand each other, and just seeing Ben kind of melt Riney's cold heart bit by bit. I think if I had to list some problem with this, is that at least in the third act, Ben's happy-go-lucky. Ben kind of spells it out way too much, and it just kind of feels weird. But after he and Riney actually managed to help each other out, with Riney losing his hand, but Ben managing to stop a creature that was going after him. He just kind of goes into this giant thing. He's like, "See, this proves it. This proves that we can all be friends." I think it's a little too obvious in my case, but a turn that I like is the fact that it is done subtly. Like Riney does realize he actually has grown to care for Ben. He does want to help him and keep him safe, and he does want to help him get home. And he realizes that this is against everything the Highbreed stand for. That every other race in the universe has to be their enemy. That they're considered inferior species and so forth. And as such, the ending is actually kind of one of the nicest parts of the episode. Ben does manage to get through to him, but only so much, to the point where he does realize that the lesser beings can easily be nice people, and even to the point where he actually does respect Ben for not only saving his life but for healing his hand. But because of his experiences and change of personality, he goes into self-exile as he realizes that this type of mentality won't be accepted by the Highbreed, and he's still kind of in that mental state himself. And he realizes, if I'm starting to change like this, then I'm infected. Whatever you've done to me has pretty much ruined me. I cannot go home like this. I can't be anywhere. I have to die. I have to stay here and die. Which Ben doesn't like, because Ben is Ben. He wants to help him, but Riney tells him, "No, I'm going to stay here, and you're going home." It's actually it's nice, actually. I really do like it. It shows that Ben did get through to him enough, like Ben did get through to him, but obviously not enough, as he's still holding on to his old ways. He's still trying. He still considers the rest of the. He still considers lesser species vermin, but because of experience with Ben, he actually does start to realize that maybe they're not all bad, and he even goes so far to, well, he goes into self exile. He does help Ben get home and does want to help, and even gets rid of the 10 paces behind thing, but he clearly realizes that I'm not, that in the way I am, I'm clearly not who I was, and that's not a good thing. So yeah, on the whole, but I don't know. And it even leads to a nice end when Ben comes home. He's sad, and the last thing we see is Rhiney just looking at the teleporter and walking away, which I think is a powerful image. So on the whole, I do like this. I do like this episode. It has a nice plot, and I do like seeing them and I do like the hero villain having to work together thing, and hero kind of getting through to the villain bit by bit. I like Rhiney because as he actually is one of the first times that a hybrid becomes a central character in this. We see how they work, we see how their personalities are fleshed out, and we even see Ben just trying. That's my dog. Sorry, just trying to get through to him and actually make a difference to him. And in some cases he succeeds, in some cases he fails. I like that. It's very nice, and I think my only other complaint is just the planet. It's a desert. It's honestly not that interesting. It's not very nice to look at. It's not visually captivating. It's just a giant desert, and honestly, that's kind of boring. But on the whole, I think it's a good episode. If you want to watch it, I recommend it. So, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So I should probably take care of my dog. And again, I'm sorry if this is a short vlog, but I just really kind of want to relax for now. I just really want to unwind. So I apologize in advance, but if you did stay, I thank you for watching, and tune in next week where I will hopefully be in a better mood and will be introduced to one of my favorite villains in this series and slash this series' doppelganger. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson. I'll go take care of my dog. Take care.